Okay, so here's something wild. This year's FIFA World Cup started with 48 teams, and now we're already down to 32. That's like cutting the field by a third in just a few weeks.
It's incredible how quickly things have escalated. Let's break it all down.
Welcome to DeActa Daily Digest. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Juniper. Here are today's top stories.
Let's kick things off with the World Cup. The group stage has officially wrapped up, and now we're heading into the knockout rounds. This is the first time the tournament has featured 48 teams, and it's being hosted across three countries, Mexico, the US, and Canada.
That's right. It's a massive undertaking, both logistically and on the field. The group stage gave us some unforgettable moments, like Germany's 7-1 win over Curaçao, which was a total blowout. But then they turned around and lost to Ecuador 2-1. That was a shocker.
It really was. And Canada's journey has been interesting too. They had that huge 6-0 win over Qatar, but then they couldn't hold up against Switzerland, losing 2-1. It's been a mixed bag for a lot of teams.
And how about the US? They started strong with a 4-1 win over Paraguay, but stumbled against Turkey, losing 3-2. It's been a roller coaster for them as well.
Now, as we move into the knockout rounds, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every match is win or go home. The matchups are looking intense. South Africa versus Canada, Brazil taking on Japan, and the USA facing Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Those are some exciting games, but I'm particularly intrigued by England versus DR Congo. England's been solid so far, but DR Congo has shown they're not to be underestimated.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, the final at MetLife Stadium on July 19th is going to be massive. Can you imagine the energy in that stadium?
It's going to be electric. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about some of the standout teams so far. The Netherlands, for instance, have been on fire. That 5-1 win over Sweden was a statement game.
It really was. And Spain has been quietly dominant too. They had a 4-0 win over Saudi Arabia and a narrow 1-0 victory against Uruguay. They're looking like serious contenders.
And then there are the underdogs. Teams like Morocco and Senegal have been quietly strong. Morocco's 4-2 win over Haiti was impressive, and Senegal's 5-0 thrashing of Iraq turned some heads.
It's always fun to see the underdogs make a deep run. But let's pivot to our second story, which is a completely different kind of drama, a potential end to the 78-year state of war between Israel and Lebanon.
This is a historic development. Since 1948, these two countries have technically been at war. There's never been a peace treaty, just a UN-mediated armistice. And now, for the first time, both sides are publicly committing to ending that legal state of war.
That's monumental. The conflict has shaped so much of the region's history, from the influx of Palestinian refugees into Lebanon to the rise of Hezbollah. It's not just about two countries, it's about decades of complex geopolitics.
Exactly. And the trilateral framework they signed with the US is a big deal. It's not just about words on paper, it's about the intention to dismantle Hezbollah's military capabilities and ensure Lebanon's army can control its southern border. But those are massive challenges.
They really are. Hezbollah is deeply entrenched, both politically and militarily, in Lebanon. And then there's Iran's influence, which complicates everything. It's not like you can just flip a switch and resolve these issues.
True. And public skepticism is high, especially in Israel. People remember the failure of the 1983 May 17th agreement, which also aimed to end hostilities but collapsed within a year. There's a lot of caution this time around.
Understandably so. But even with all the challenges, the fact that both governments have acknowledged the state of war as the problem to be solved is a significant shift. It's a step forward, even if the road ahead is uncertain.
It's a reminder that progress, however incremental, is still progress. But speaking of uncertainty, let's move to our third story, Iran's declaration of a 30-day control over the Strait of Hormuz.
This is a bold move by Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most strategic waterways in the world. About a fifth of the global oil supply passes through there. Iran asserting control, even temporarily, is bound to cause ripples.
Absolutely. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi cited a memorandum of understanding as the legal basis for this move, but the timing is telling. It comes right after U.S. airstrikes on Iranian targets following a drone attack on a commercial vessel.
It feels like a power play, doesn't it? Iran is essentially saying, we're in charge here, and we don't want interference. But you have to wonder how other countries will respond, especially the US and its allies.
That's the big question. The US has a vested interest in keeping the strait open and secure. Any disruption could have ripple effects on global oil markets. And then there's the broader tension between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which always looms in the background.
Right. And let's not forget the other players in the region. Iraq, for instance, hosted the press conference where this announcement was made. That's significant. Iraq has its own complex relationship with both Iran and the US.
It's a tangled web for sure. And a 30-day control period might not seem long, but in geopolitics, a lot can happen in a month. This could escalate or de-escalate, depending on how all the stakeholders play their cards.
Agreed. It's a reminder of how interconnected everything is. What happens in the Strait of Hormuz doesn't just stay there, it affects economies and policies worldwide.
So true. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Whether it's the World Cup, the Israel-Lebanon framework, or Iran's actions in the Strait, these stories all highlight how interconnected our world has become. Sports, politics, and global security, they're all part of the same tapestry.
Well said. And it's why we need to pay attention, even when the stories seem unrelated at first glance. They're all pieces of a larger puzzle.
Exactly. So any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just that it's a fascinating time to be following these stories, whether it's the joy of the World Cup, the cautious hope for peace in the Middle East, or the tension in the Strait of Hormuz. There's so much at stake. It's a reminder to stay informed and engaged.
Couldn't agree more. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for the great discussion.
Thank you. Until next time.